Hello everyone, and welcome back to BGA TVHT, the show where we do gaming commentaries every other day. And today, we have the first weekly edition of BGA News. Some of this may be old news by now, but who really cares, to be honest? Time for the news of the week. Our first story comes to us from the now out-of-business Telltale. Their most popular game, the Minecraft spin-off Minecraft Story Mode, is being delisted later this month. This includes both Seasons 1 and 2. If you don't have them downloaded but purchased, download them again while you still can. You may never be able to play them again. Though I haven't seen anything about the Netflix version, I think it's safe to assume it'll be sticking around, I think. Just a reminder, download it while you can. Right, our second story comes from Activision and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is just announced in an interview with PlayStation Lifestyle. Campaign director Jacob Minkoff said that Modern Warfare would be skipping Zombies mode, the Zombies mode, because of the realistic tone of the game, as opposed to the more stylized tone of Treyarch's Black Ops. Because they focus more on the stylized graphic novel superhero experience, they can have the much more out there different types of gameplay in their games, Minkoff stated. For me, I don't know what to think. For at least the games I've cared about, they've had a zombies mode, and now with that gone, what's coming to fill the void? The campaign, I think, is coming to possibly fill the void of the Battle Royale mode, which I don't think will be in this new installment. So what's going to be there for zombies? We do not know. Our third story comes from Kojima Productions and their game Death Stranding, where Hideo Kojima documented the notable milestones of his career since leaving Konami. I just thought I would let you know. Go read them if you want. Part 2 to this thing, Kojima also said that Death Stranding is an entirely different genre of game, completely new to the gaming industry. That's pretty interesting. I don't know. It's interesting. Our fourth story comes from Tesla, of all places, because they have announced that Cuphead will be playable in the Model 3, Model S, and Model X. Thankfully, it will only be playable when the car is in park and not moving. It seems that the development is coming along smoothly, or at least what I can gather from what Elon Musk himself said. Our fifth story comes from Niantic, the devs behind Pokemon Go. It seems they'll be ending support for the Apple Watch version of the game, which I honestly didn't know existed. There are more details as to why, like how there is this adventure sync thing. I mean, they're acting like it's a game with crossplay or something. It's really weird. Frankly, I couldn't care less. Who's even using Pokemon Go anymore? Like, just old people or something? Like, seriously. I don't know. Our sixth story comes from Mortal Kombat 11, where a Shang Tsung, sorry if I butchered that, gameplay trailer confirms Sindel, Nightwolf, and Spawn as additional DLC characters. For his gameplay style, he has soul-stealing abilities and shape-shifting abilities. Overall, it seems pretty cool. Wish they had just more of these characters in the main game. Our seventh story comes from Call of Duty Black Ops 4. It looks like the game has added some new weapons that look exciting, but locked them behind loot boxes. Oh boy. I feel like some kind of thing like this happens every single month. It's a bit ridiculous, honestly. I don't like it when companies do this sort of thing, and I sure as heck don't want them to lock exciting new content. I may not care about COD that much, but I won't stand for players not getting all their content. And especially in a $60 game, and especially behind some loot boxes. Our eighth story comes from the NES, Nintendo Switch Online app on the Switch, where Nintendo has unveiled June's games. They aren't the best. Will you stop it up there? Jesus Christ. First up, there's... Shut up! First up, there's volleyball, which is a black box game. Good to know you won't get more than an hour tops of playtime out of that. Also, Double Dragon 2. I'm figuring it's going to be like the first Double Dragon, if I'm honest. And finally, City Connection? The game doesn't ring a single bell for me, and I have no idea what it is. At least the box art looks respectable. Our 8th story once again comes from Nintendo. The latest Pokemon game, Pokemon Sword and Shield, got a dedicated direct. Some of the more notable announcements were the multiplayer raid battles, the interesting and unique overworld, and how the main mechanic of the game, Dynamax, works. You can check out the Pokemon Direct on Nintendo's YouTube page. Our 9th story comes from DICE, the creators of the Battlefield franchise. Battlefield 5, the latest game in the franchise, was the first entry where DICE decided not to do a season pass with their maps. Since those have been popularized, I don't really know, going farther back than Battlefield 3, how that ends up going. And rather decided to go with the new and popular live service model. Back then, it was exciting. A Battlefield game where the community wouldn't get divided over 4 different DLC packs? It seemed great. Shut up. Now that we know that live services have a tendency to crash and burn before they get much additional content, with examples like Anthem, Fallout 76, and more. Bad press around the games and devs making comments like, if you don't like the game, don't buy it, made the press around the game not so great, and by not so great, I mean terrible. As a result, the sales expectations weren't met, and instead of not giving up on their game and continuously putting out content and delivering on it, they did about 1 content drop before going dark for the better part of 2019's first quarter. They came back with Firestorm, which from what I've heard is pretty good, but it came too late. By then, 1 new map had come out for the core multiplayer modes, bringing the total from 9 up to 9 from where it had launched at 8. Not only did the game not launch with as many maps as its 2 predecessors, Battlefield 4 and 1 respectively, but it also didn't deliver on bringing the map count up in a quick manner, leaving at least me bored from playing on the same maps all the time. Now we come to June, where DICE has announced that 6 new maps will be coming to Battlefield 5, including the Pacific Theater. They are all coming in the coming months. The map coming in June, named Al Sundan, goes back to North Africa and looks to be focused on large-scale warfare. Even now, we haven't gotten a map seriously focused on that other style. The July map, Merida, is the second Greece map with a city. Not much else seems to have been said. In August, there are 2 maps, both close quarters. Not much to go over there. And the 5th map is one that seems to be reminiscent of Operation Metro from Battlefield 3. Pretty cool, I guess. Our 10th story comes from PlayStation, because Naughty Dog is turning off Uncharted 3 and Last of Us multiplayer, PS3 multiplayer for good. Oh well, I don't know how many people even play those games online still. I mean, seriously, they're like really old. Our 11th story comes from THQ Nordic. They have announced that the SpongeBob game Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated will be coming to all current-gen platforms at some point in the future. Cool. Our 12th story comes from Google, as on Thursday, June 6th, they announced that later that day, they would be doing an event called Stadia Connect. It's basically a Google Nintendo Direct. Every game company has one now, and I'm not even joking. Even Epic Games has a developer update thing for Fortnite. I was not impressed with what Google showed. It's quite expensive, and they kept riding a high horse, saying things like, we have all of the first-class game developers in the world on our side. But guess what? They never showed anything. Because when they put Rockstar's name up there, what do they mean? Do they mean GTA 5 or LA Noire? That's the real question that we gotta ask before we put $120 a month down for a single yearly subscription to Stadia Plus, which is basically an Xbox Game Pass thing, but way too expensive for what it is. Yes, it also gets you access to 4K HDR 60 FPS gaming, but only if you have pretty high internet speeds. So yeah, I don't know how many people are actually going to go in and get that. They also made a big deal about getting the Stadia Founders Pack as oh my god, you'll be able to get first dibs on your Stadia username. Like, who the heck cares? Yeah, it's a new platform. Yeah, you're gonna be able to choose the exact name you want, but that's not really a big draw. I mean, most of us veteran players usually already have a pretty good username. I do, my parents do, even people who aren't on the same system but are my friends have pretty cool usernames. So, yeah. Now that that's done, it's time for the new game roundup. First up, the JRPG The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 2. Also coming out, Pixark reaches PS4. Both physical and digital, just at different times. It was pretty strange, to be honest. And now the PS4 roundup. Kotodama, Effie, Legend of the Tetrarchs, MotoGP 19, Neon Junction, Refunct, The Savior's Gang, Stunt Kite Party, Super Blood Hockey, Super Skelemania, Toki Juju Desenshu, Warhammer Chaos Bane, and Word Wheel. And now the Xbox One roundup. ESO Elsewhere, Time Spinner, Neon Junctions, As Divine Dios, MotoGP 19, Toki, Super Blood Hockey, Party Golf, and Omen Sight Definitive Edition. Next up, the esports scene. In the 2019 LCS Summer Split, this week we had C9 versus FlyQuest on June 1st, Team Liquid versus TSM on June 1st, CLG versus 100 Thieves on June 1st, Optic Gaming versus Clutch Gaming on June 1st, Golden Guardians versus Echo Fox on June 1st, Clutch Gaming versus C9 on June 2nd, FlyQuest versus Golden Guardians on June 2nd, Echo Fox versus Team Liquid on June 2nd, TSM versus CLG on June 2nd, and 100 Thieves versus Optic Gaming on June 2nd. Whew, that was a lot. In the Fortnite World Cup scene on June 2nd was the Week 8 Duos Finals. I've heard that some parts of this whole World Cup thing have been an absolute disaster, but I don't follow Fortnite esports that much, so it doesn't really matter to me. But what I can tell you is that there was a cheater in the early stages of the event. He got into the finals. That's one thing that I can't stand for, and actually that made I heard about this, I didn't really write it down, but I'll tell you that apparently some big esports division won't let Fortnite be in their yearly thing because the game changes too much and isn't viable competitively. Well, either way, that's crazy. Next up, gaming milestones. Here's what we have this week. Superman 64 turns 20, so that's something to celebrate. Or maybe not. Superman 64, if you didn't know, which I'm sure pretty much 99% of you do, is infamous as one of the worst games of all time, up the air with Sonic 06 and some other games I've never heard of. E3 is coming hot on our tail as well, so we better get ready for that. The E3 season, as I'm now calling it, because, people just are dropping out left and right of E3, is starting tomorrow with EA Play. Actually, no, because it started yesterday with Google Stadia's Direct thing, because apparently that's part of E3. It's so weird. I'm already seeing speculation circling around as to what's going to be seen from the major figures still at the gaming convention. Now, Sony and Nintendo have dropped out from having press conferences. Microsoft is the only one of the big three console manufacturers that still has a press conference, but it's not even at the E3 event. It's right across the street. They say they have over 10 exclusives to bring to the table, but I'm still a bit skeptical. That's something you gotta have. Blood and Truth was the first VR game to top the UK physical charts. It was the best-selling boxed game in the UK last week. It beat out some pretty big competitors, a FIFA 19 sales bump, and the second week of Team Sonic Racing. I also heard that on PS4 in the UK and North America, for I think it was May as a whole, Minecraft was the top. We're doing it, guys. We're doing it. Now it's time for Gaming Extended, where we look at the things happening in gaming beyond the screen. First up, there is a 368-page hardcover book filled with the art from the marketing and development phases of Super Mario Odyssey. Recently, Nintendo and Dark Horse, who is the publisher, gave the gaming website Polygon an exclusive look at the English version. There should be 4 pages up on the screen for you to see right now. Actually, no. The book was originally released in Japan back in September of 2018, and it took the world by storm, with fans finding early concepts of Nintendo's own Bowsette in the book. That's a surprise. The book is available to pre-order in English at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and more for $49.99, and it will release on October 22nd. Next up, Netflix has finished production on an adaptation of The Witcher. Actor Henry Cavill is playing Geralt. He uploaded a post to Instagram about the news. Seems pretty cool. Maybe I'll watch it, but really not. I've never played Witcher 3, so I can't really say. Next, the directors of Avengers Endgame, the Russo brothers, are making a Magic the Gathering anime series. I've never played Magic, nor do I intend to, but it seems interesting. Gaming is just branching out in all different ways. You got more gaming movies than ever coming up, and stuff all like this. It's really cool. Next, here are this week's stats from the B&R group. Riley the Human has 52 subscribers. I have 164 subscribers. I started a new series this week, How to Start a YouTube Channel. And now for the B&R podcast with Riley.
Hello.
Alright, so yeah, there's just a lot of thunder, I think. Just all over the place. It's been great. The rest of the why is there just a? But there's just been lots of thunder throughout recording. It's been great. It's also rained really hard. Yeah. So basically, we got a lot of interesting things happening this week. I mean, obviously, E3's starting tomorrow. Well, it's the E3 period is starting tomorrow. Pokemon Go is still not dead. Minecraft Story Mode's gonna be gone. Like, Adobe Flash is shutting down.
Sadly.
And it just so many bad things. So let's start with the Witcher Netflix show. So first of all, have you ever played The Witcher?
No, actually.
Okay, so good. Neither have I. I have absolutely no idea anything about it. But
yeah,
really, that's not kind of, at least to me, the significance of there even being a Witcher show. Mainstream, cable TV, Netflix, or, just either. The importance of actually having a show besides, Pokemon or Digimon or, an animated show based off of a pretty popular video game that's not even really a kid's game is definitely a good step towards games becoming more accepted as mainstream media, I think. And also, just I think this whole thing also correlates with the all the gaming movies that have come out recently. You know, Detective Pikachu, the Sonic movie, an Uncharted movie just got announced today, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it stars Tom Holland, the guy who plays Spider-Man in the MCU.
Okay, I guess.
It's a younger Nathan Drake. It's not the one from the games, and it's not even based off of the game's storyline. It just has the characters. It's supposed to be a prequel.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'd rather see some kind of live action adaptation of Uncharted 4, because that game was just the best.
Oh, yeah. If you ask me, I know this is like going a little bit off topic with the video game movies, but I think Disney's a little weird when it comes to live action, even though this probably isn't going to have anything to do with Disney, the Uncharted movie. But I just think about it. We just got the Aladdin live action, and back a while ago it reminded me of the Tarzan live action. I just realized, what are they thinking over there? They're like, you know what, let's put Will Smith in a genie costume.
Yeah. But honestly, I don't know. The reception of the live action adaptations of animated classics is kind of a thing that people don't like. Because what I've seen is there's one side of people that absolutely hate them. One side that's kind of like, I'll go see it because it's Aladdin. And then one side that's like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest movie of all time because it's Aladdin and Aladdin cannot be demolished.
Yeah. My mom and my sister and my aunt actually went to go see it. They said it wasn't bad. It was just some parts were a little stupid. You know, I don't want to spoil it, but if you're planning on going to see it, I didn't hear it's going to be amazing, you know?
I mean, don't kill me, but I've never even seen the original Aladdin. I plan to one of these days, but as of today, I've never seen it.
The original's good. Yeah, if you're gonna see it, see the original before you actually see the live action.
Yeah.
But going back to the Witcher Netflix series that they've announced, I'm just a little concerned, if you ask me, because I'm just afraid of it. Because think about all the weird, video game movies that's been in the past or TV shows. Like, we had the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. That wasn't a bad show, but then there was a movie out of it. It wasn't like an actual, based around the Super Show. It was live action. But still, it was weird, you know? It wasn't worth it at all. It was strange. I'm afraid it's going to be something crappy like that.
Oh, yeah, and there's going to be a Mario movie in 2022. So, looking forward to that. Yeah, and it's made by Illumination, so Minion cameos.
I guarantee you there's going to be Minion cameos.
I really hope not. At least there is going to be some form of quality because Shigeru Miyamoto is the producer of that movie.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit more promising.
Yeah, that's the only ray of hope because I didn't see that information until people, actually started talking about it again around the same time as the Sonic movie and Detective Pikachu were announced because people started making jokes about the Nintendo Cinematic Universe and actually made this really cool, roadmap that I would actually like to see.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how they would do the movies, but man, it looked really cool in concept. It was like the Avengers movies were Smash movies. And it was just really cool. And then they even had Mega Man in there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my. The cops are going past my house.
Probably caught a drug dealer or something.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Alright, so going back to the Nintendo Cinematic Universe idea, and this kind of branches into our next topic.
Yeah.
If we know that... So, have you seen Detective Pikachu?
I have not, but I've heard very, very good things about it.
Okay, so, if I'm to be honest, the movie's fine, but it is definitely not the greatest. I mean, it's probably one of the better video game movies, but it's not what I would consider a great movie. But
just like in general?
Yeah, but I think that gamers have been really desperate for a good video game movie. And that's kind of what they were doing. We know that the Detective Pikachu sequel movie actually has a writer already. And I'm a little concerned because whatever they did, the ending of Detective Pikachu, which I will not spoil here, doesn't make sense for them to do another Detective Pikachu. They can make another Pokemon movie, but not another Detective Pikachu. It just wouldn't make sense with what they've done. And so that brings us to E3, where there's like almost nearly no companies left actually at E3. Just around E3, they have stuff going on. It's actually getting a little absurd. Like, E3's... Normally, the buzz around E3 is who's gonna win and who's gonna have the best presentation, but this year, it's like, is E3 even still the biggest gaming convention? Which I don't think it even is anymore. It's like probably Game Developers Conference or PAX or, one of the other ones. Because if you actually look at it, even Microsoft isn't at E3. They're across the street from E3, but people still count that as E3. Nintendo is doing their normal Direct thing. PlayStation isn't even going to E3 or doing anything for it. And
which is a little strange.
Well, see, I don't think it is, because they've been dropping little nuggets of information and keeping the buzz around whenever the PS5 is going to be for quite a while now, and I think it's actually smarter, because then you can actually have, over a prolonged period of time, the buzz around your new console continued to be alive, build up hype, instead of the hype being very, moment to moment, and very fast, like you would if you had dumped all that info at E3. Now, imagine this, which you're not imagining, this is actually a fact. They have not said anything about the console itself. The PS5 isn't even the confirmed name for the console. It is literally, all they have said are, specs. They have said that, using Spider-Man as the example, because they used it as, you can be swinging through the city 2 times faster than the max speed in the PS4 version. You can pause the game and mid-frame, and everything is completely loaded in. It's actually incredible. And then they've, said that they've eliminated load times with the new unique hard drive, which that's a discussion in and of itself about what that is, but man, they've been keeping the buzz around the console for so long, even though they've announced nothing about what's actually on the system.
I mean, even though I'm not a PlayStation guy, I'm still very interested in this, because you never know. If it's that good and it's at a good price, maybe I will be a PlayStation guy. A system, most people don't agree with this, but I think that one system can change a whole person's perspective on a company.
Yeah, getting an Xbox One, not as a main console, but for another project, which I will make a video on in the future at some point, seeing that UI and just how absolutely terrible it is. Seriously, if you thought the PlayStation UI was bad, the Xbox UI is just 10 times worse. And you really never think about it. You never really think about, is the other system's UI and navigation worse than mine? Because all you're really thinking about, all you ever hear about on the other system is the games.
Yeah.
I would say, at least this generation, Xbox is last in terms of user interface and just how crappy it is. I really don't know about Switch. I would say both Switch and PlayStation's storefronts are kind of bad. They're not great. It's kind of tough to find games easily unless you know exactly what you're looking for. And then I can really just say that in terms of simplicity, Nintendo wins, but Sony also has an upper leg because the way they've actually improved it over the years from when it launched, and how much better it is now with like folders and how much you can make it so there's so much less clutter and all this stuff. It's just great. So then back to E3, where we'll actually get to the topic that we were kind of getting to. Our predictions. So,
yes.
First, what are your thoughts on Pokemon Sword and Shield?
I'm excited. I'm really interested on what they're gonna bring to this, because is it gonna be sort of like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where it's sort of like, I don't want to say not a main influential Pokemon game, but I think you sort of know what I mean. It is definitely a main Pokemon game, like a mainstream, very, like a, supposed to be a main successor, but I'm sort of trying to say, will it be similar to this, or will it be a little bit different and take on something like maybe, Pokemon Moon or Pokemon Sun? I'm really curious, and I'm pretty interested. I'm not a huge Pokemon guy, but like I said earlier, if it's a good game, you never know when I'll pick it up.
Yeah, so, they actually did have the Pokemon Direct, and I watched Arlo react to that, and I was actually pretty interested with what they called the Wild Area, which was basically this thing where you have, they didn't say it outright, but I think there's, like, different biomes. There's a day-night cycle, full 3D camera movement, like, so much stuff that I wish had been in Pokemon, like, a few generations ago, but, because it hasn't been on an actual console until now, or until Let's Go Pikachu, but this is so much better, and then you know what? They actually have multiplayer battles. Like,
oh, really?
Like proper co-op multiplayer battles. It's something that I wish had been in Pokemon X and Y, which was actually the first. Well, no, I played Pokemon Yellow first, but Pokemon X and Y was the most modern one that I've played, and man, I had a lot of fun going to that one place that was like just battle NPCs continuously, and being able to actually do proper multiplayer battles with what seems like not really that much hassle is a much cooler prospect to me.
Yeah, and I mean, this is going a little bit off topic, but it's still on topic of E3. And I know you should be asking the questions, but let me ask you this. How do you feel about Super Mario Maker 2?
I feel like, and this is a problem for me, because I was really looking forward to Mario Maker 2, just because I loved Mario Maker 1, but improvements that I just assumed that Nintendo would make, they didn't, and then they removed features. 90% of the reason I have an amiibo collection in the first place is because Mario Maker 2 costumes and/or Animal Crossing, which is another thing that I would like to hear from Nintendo about at E3. But
yes,
they took out the amiibo functionality. They haven't fixed the stupid code system and made it easier to find friends' levels. And I don't know if they still have some of the other issues that I had, which I can't even remember now, because it's been so long since I've actually, played the first one, that if I go back and play it, I will remember some of the problems, but just I really want to like it, but I also am having trouble finding a reason to like it as much, if not more, than the first one, because I'm having trouble on deciding if I want to buy it at $60 based on the features within the game, because making amiibo costumes was definitely a pretty big part of making cool levels. Like, I mean, I made a Luigi's Mansion level, I made Sonic levels, I made all these things. But I can't do that anymore. So there goes a huge part of the creativity that I loved about the first game. And it's just sad to me, because I really would have liked them to do that. So,
well, now let me ask you: would you, if they made no changes to it from what they announced? The only thing that they changed was the little announcement that they did from the original game. It's hard to say what I'm saying, but would you pick it up?
See, now that's a problem for me, because if it was a straight remaster of the first game, I wouldn't really have a problem picking the game up, because, just saying it's the first game but a bit better, with like slopes and more complex features, maybe fixing up a few things, adding some new styles, I'd be like, heck yeah, I'll pick that up. But if you did that, and when I mean like adding a new style and new features, I don't mean to the caliber that they have now, but basically keeping it the same game, but doing some of the things that people ask them for the years and years that the game was relevant online to do, but then just keep everything else the same. And yet they didn't do that, and improve on some of the features, but still have the 10 Mario challenge, still have the same UI, because really most of my problems with the game weren't even stuff like that. But now if you do exactly that but call it the second one, I probably won't pick it up, because then I have a pretense that the game is going to be at least somewhat different in its base, but still the same. But overall, I just wanted them to keep the game pretty much the same and add more things and make it better. But yeah, now I'm getting quite skeptical.
Yeah.
Alright, so moving on from Nintendo, what about Microsoft? Okay, so Microsoft's presentation, what do you expect?
I don't even know. Maybe they'll be talking about Forza a little bit more. Maybe a new Forza game or DLC or something. I don't know, really. I don't have an Xbox. I'm not really big on that stuff, but I am curious to see what they have.
Well, I mean, they always have a new Forza. That's something that you're gonna get guaranteed. They said, at least, and this is the most interesting thing about their presentation, at least for me. They said they were gonna be bringing, like, I can say over 10 new exclusives to their press conference. Now that's pretty huge. I don't really know, at least in my recent memory, what other presentation has brought 10 first-party exclusives. Indie exclusives, sure. Microsoft's done that, EA's done that, PlayStation's done that, everybody's done that. But over 10 first-party exclusives, now that's something to reckon with. And that's what I am really hoping they actually do quite well. But, they could do something like going back to E3s and kind of do an okay but not great job. Or they could do what they did kind of last year, which was just like bam, bam, bam you. With like game after game after game after game. Which, I mean, that was pretty cool. But I really just don't know. It's so hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, neither of us are really Xbox gamers, so it's not really much to say there.
I don't even do PC games,
Which actually are getting more mixed in with Xbox.
Yeah, because, Xbox is, Microsoft, and Microsoft is big when it comes to, PC and all that.
And they're actually bringing the Xbox Game Pass to Steam. And you know what? I am actually getting quite worried for Microsoft as a whole. Because they seem to be going in a direction that is they don't even have exclusives. Like, Cuphead is now on Switch. Cuphead is no longer an Xbox exclusive. Forza isn't an Xbox exclusive because it's on Play Anywhere and it's probably on the Game Pass. Minecraft was never an exclusive, but is now their flagship game somehow, and is also on the Game Pass, bringing it to Steam for the first time. And then I'm just kind of worried that they're trying to do a little bit too much. They're trying to branch out so far and root themselves deep into everything so that if Xbox fails, then Xbox won't fail. If you get what I'm saying, if the console itself fails, they'll still have Minecraft.
Microsoft.
They still have Xbox Game Pass. They have all these other things. Just
Yes.
In the end, it's just a little tougher to know for sure.
Yes.
So, okay. So for PlayStation... Wait, never mind. For a second, I was going to start doing PlayStation predictions, but then I just remembered that PlayStation's not even there. And heck, and you can't even say that they might do something, because they would have announced it by now. I mean, E3 is starting tomorrow. They're not They're not going to announce something now.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, technically E3 kicked off yesterday because they count the Google Stadia Connect as a E3 thing.
Oh, yeah. I wonder what's about that.
Oh, it's, oh yeah, let's just go into that as a bonus topic in the middle of the normal topics here, because we like to have more topics all the time. So, the Google Stadia Direct, I just like calling it a Direct because it is a Direct. And this is a point I made yesterday in a conversation. Every game company has a Direct now. All of them. Nintendo started it, then PlayStation got on board, then Xbox, and now Google, who doesn't even have their first console released. It's not even a console, but either way, they don't have their first platform released yet, and they're already getting in on it.
Yeah, it sort of worries me when you think about it, because it's like a web browser game, I don't know why I said game, a web browser, a thing that you search the web with, and a thing that helps your home with the Google Home Mini, and basically a thing that you sort of can't live without because if you use Yelp or another search engine, it's pretty crappy, is now making a game system.
Well, Google's a lot more than just a search engine. I mean, they have actually it's quite insane what they've done, and the main point that people bring up when talking about Stadia itself is that it really depends on your internet speeds, and for game streaming in general, just the internet speeds required for proper smooth, even just 1080p 30 FPS, which is kind of the standard for the lowest settings on consoles right now. That's actually a pretty tough speed to hit for most of these gaming or most of these streaming services that have been launched so far. Then here comes Google. They have the infrastructure built It looks promising because the speeds they've said, you can technically play with about 5 megabits of download speed, which is kind of like the rock bottom. I mean, that's like the speeds that my grandparents had before they got a new router. So I mean, it's not really something that's to behold, but it's doable if you want to like exist online. It's just not great. So then, but here's the kicker. To get 4K 60 FPS, which is the proper highest settings you can get on Stadia, not only do you need 35 megabits of download speed, but you also need to pay for Stadia Pro, which is a $120 a year subscription to like a PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live Gold or Nintendo Switch Online, but way overpriced. And it's also like an Xbox Game Pass included in that. But the problem is they haven't shown any of the games, so that kind of derails it. And then also, the Stadia controller is like $80, I think. No gaming controller is that expensive. That's, well, okay, I think Joy-Cons are $80 actually, but they're kind of unique, so I kind of get that.
Xbox controller.
So. And they didn't show many games. My main problem is that Google, at least in the Direct, they came into this a bit cocky, I would almost say. Because basically, they kept claiming, they kept going like, yeah, we have all of the first-class game developers in the world on our side. And then they showed like all these things that had like Sega and EA Sports, and I think maybe possibly Rockstar was in there or something. And it was just like, okay, well, I mean, you show all these developers, but then are you getting their first-class games? With Rockstar, are you getting GTA 5 or LA Noire? Because those are two very different games in terms of popularity or how many people still actually care about them.
Yeah. Good questions.
And just as well, so going back to the Stadia Pro, you won't actually be able to play Stadia just as the base platform until much later. In November, they'll launch Stadia Pro, and you have to pay the subscription to get in, and they've made choosing your username quite a big deal, actually. It's kind of annoying because it's like, you can pick your Stadia username. It's like, wow, that's such a great deal. I'll definitely pay $120 to get a unique username.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of strange when you think about it because, you know, up until, 2 months ago, you guys weren't, PS4 users weren't able to change their PSN names?
No, that was like a month ago.
A month ago.
Maybe like 2 weeks.
We're getting to the point where you have to pay a lot of money to be able to choose your unique username off the bat, but with PS4 you were already able to do that if you had the PSN, you know?
Yeah, and just in general, using your username as a selling point for a subscription service is not, that's just a little strange. I wouldn't say bad, but I wouldn't say great. And just, in general, just like, wow, well, why are you even doing this? Overall, I wasn't impressed. Because, you know, I am fine with Google going in with a lot of production and a lot of, like, hey, we've got all this, we got cool new games for you here. But what I don't appreciate is them not showing enough games in the Direct, not proving to me that their service is worth buying. What did they show? Destiny 2, a 2-year-old game now, that, like, I'm sure that people still play, but it's nowhere near the amount of players that it had before. And Division 2, which doesn't really get any notoriety anymore because it kind of got dead in the water right away in terms of like press coverage and everything. And then what was the other game? Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which Ubisoft's probably gonna announce the next Assassin's Creed at E3 anyway. So like,
yeah.
Unless they're
Assassin's
skipping.
Creed Odyssey is just a little bit younger than Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, well, is it? I don't even know which came out first, but it doesn't really matter.
Mario Odyssey came out October 27th, and then
But honestly, I really won't. I'm not even considering Stadia as a next generation console for me. Oh,
yeah.
The fact that just it's so overpriced for what it is at launch, and they said like the first wave of games. Like, what does that even mean? Are you like coming out a month with like 100 new games for the service, or like what are you doing?
Yeah.
They didn't give enough info, and also, to play on a TV, you need a Chromecast Ultra, which is a more expensive new version of the Chromecast, so that's great. That is just, I don't know, this is, Google's whole thing has just been so iffy. At least people on the internet don't seem too fond about it. Some people do, but then others just don't. Alright, well that's enough about that. Let's get on to the final topic for today. Pokemon Go's never-ending lifespan. So,
yes.
I thought that Pokemon Go died like 2 years ago or something, or whenever people stopped talking about it, I thought it was just dead. Because, I mean, seriously, it was a crazy fad for a while, and then just absolutely nothing. I knew that the game had gotten better, but it still wasn't great, and then they, like, linked it to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and that was another thing, but with recent news, there was an Apple Watch version of Pokemon Go.
Really?
Yes, for Apple Watches. And it's actually getting discontinued now because of some new feature that they want to add that you can't do on Apple Watches. I thought they stopped supporting the game in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's still people in my classes that play that game. I'm not going to say their name. Well, I can say one of their names. You know him, Aiden. He still plays it.
Aiden still play.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I didn't know that children still played the game in the first place.
I've seen him trading Pokemon with my other friend. I'm not gonna say his name, but it really surprises me because I mean, come on, man, it's a mobile game. I'm surprised you can't take that seriously.
Yeah, well, I honestly don't know, but either way, just it's incredible that the game has survived this long, especially with the amount of just problems that came with the game existing, like all the reports of injuries and deaths because they weren't paying attention while playing Pokemon Go. It was just it's a miracle that it was still able to survive long enough to get to this point.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't been shut down by insert big name company here. You know, I can't name it, but I'm surprised it hasn't been shut down by like the safety organization or whatever crap. Because like you said, people weren't paying attention and dying. I'm very surprised it's still living.
Oh yeah, the World Health Organization finally got gaming disorder as an actual thing. But
oh really?
Yeah, but it actually wasn't as bad as I thought, because instead of what the news outlets were making it out to be, which was like, oh, if you play, like, more than 2 hours of video games a day, you're automatically diagnosed with an addiction. No, it's actually like, the definition is that if you play games so much that it's getting in the way of daily activities like work or school or homework for kids, and chores and just eating and drinking for adults, that is now you have a gaming addiction. Which makes sense, because that's kind of what a nicotine addiction is kind of like. Not exactly the same, but kind of similar. So, at least they were able to be reasonable with the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised that, they didn't exaggerate.
Yeah. Honestly, this just...
Well,
all
here's
that.
a question.
Huh?
Yeah. Here's a question. When do you think Pokemon Go is going to die, but still living?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. As long as enough people are playing the game and being ridiculous enough to spend at least a little bit of money on the game, it can be thriving for years and years to come. I mean, just ages. But I don't know how long that is gonna be. I mean, most people have moved on to Fortnite or probably beyond by now. I mean, actually, I mean, Minecraft has fully passed Fortnite in terms of players. So, that's a thing there. And then, I think at least I have become quite uninterested in Fortnite's storyline, which I know for some people was a pretty big draw, because I swear they kind of almost rebooted everything with Season 8. Like, I was actually very angry about this, because I was really invested in the storyline, and I was like, ooh, so the iceberg crashed in, the Fire King was in the basement, he escaped, he's causing earthquakes, what's gonna happen next? A jungle just grows out of the ground, and pirates magically come to the island, because why not? It was kind of the soft reboot that nobody asked for. And so, I then became uninterested in the story, because I don't even know what happened. Yeah, after the volcano erupted, things kind of started back up again, but... And then now we have this monster that has dethroned the Ice King, and people are saying, oh, this is the end of the Ice/Fire King storyline. And well, yeah, I mean, it is. But also, like, seriously, just, it's gone on for so long that they just ran out of ideas for a second, and just were like, F it, we're gonna have a whole season that makes absolutely no sense until the very end, where it, like, starts over again.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in Apex, it has a Titanfall-ish storyline to the backstory of the game, but the game actually doesn't have a storyline yet. And I don't expect it to. I mean, I'm just hoping, because the game actually still has quite a few players. It's still generally in the top 10 on Twitch. That's a pretty decent amount, if you ask me. And overall, I think the reason people moved away from the game is because the developers never updated the game at all.
Yeah.
Like they never updated it. What happened was they basically, since the launch of the game, they did one update that added a new gun, and I was like, yes, we need this more. Then we just kept getting delays for Season 1. Season 1 came out and was the most piece of crap I've ever seen in a battle pass until that point. And then
Yeah.
And they didn't add anything new to the gameplay. They added a new character to play as, but they didn't add anything new. Like, no guns, no attachments, no new gameplay mechanics, unless you count the new character's ultimate as the gameplay mechanic. And since that point, the season 1 is still going. It started in like March and is still going. It is longer than any Fortnite season so far, and they never have updated the game with new playable content since then, until like a few days ago, when they actually put out the first reasonable update to the game ever, if I'm to be honest. And I was so happy, because I was just like, yes, we need more of this content. We need challenges. We need all this stuff to get us more cosmetics, get us competitive playlists, get us things that we've needed forever. And it actually got me back into the game, and, Apex's gameplay is still the best Battle Royale gameplay out of all of them. But the game just needed to be updated more as a whole. So anyway, just closing thoughts on the Pokemon Go story.
Yeah.
It needs to die. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's gone on for too long. It just needs to die. So anyway, yes, this has been the BNR podcast. Good night.